All right, today's lesson is on finding the surface area of a shape. Now I'm holding up a Kleenex box and I want to make sure that you guys understand before we begin our lesson what surface area actually is. Surface area is actually the area of all of the surfaces in a three-dimensional shape. Surface area is not what's inside. That's called volume, and we'll get to that in a couple days. So today, we're going to think back to yesterday's lesson. Pretend that I cut this and opened it so that I laid it flat and made it a net. Now, if I wanted to find the surface area of all of those faces, I can easily do that. And there's a trick I'm going to teach you today as well. Luckily for us in 5th grade, we only have to worry about surface areas of rectangular prisms like this one and cubes. Those are the only two shapes. Okay? So here's the surface area of a rectangular prism. Now, today you will not have to do any measuring. They will do the measuring for you. You will be given the length, the height, and the width of a shape. That will be given. So if you look at our rectangular prism, how could we open it up to create a plane figure? Well, we could cut along the edges and lay it flat, and we could make it a net that looks just like this. Now, the good news is, instead of doing this 6 different times for all 6 faces, check this out. These two are the same. So if we find one, we can just double it and find the other. Same goes with these two. If we find one, we can just double it. And obviously, these as well. Remember that a net is a plane figure or a flat figure, but when we fold it up and bend it, it makes a solid figure. Now, does our net show all the faces of the rectangular prism?
No.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, the net.
The net, this does. This picture doesn't. It only shows half of them. The faces of the rectangular prism are all visible from this net. We see 6 faces. All of them are rectangles, but they're all different. Now that we know the number of faces, we want to find the area of the blue, the area of the tan, and the area of the green. Okay, so let's use these numbers. Now, I wish that we would be able to cut apart every shape that we figure out the surface area for, but that's not really doable. We can't really do that so well. So instead, I'm going to teach you a trick that I learned, and I think it will help you. You have 3 numbers to work with. You're going to use all of those numbers twice. You'll use the 4 twice, the 3 twice, and the 2 twice. Now what I do is if I use it once, I put a half of an X through it. If I use it twice, I put the other half of the X through it. That way I know, okay, I'm done with that number. So to find the surface area, we need to find the area of each of them. So let's start by finding the area of the blue. Okay, the blue. Area means length times width. So what would be the area of the blue? Cole? 12. So I would take 4 times 3 to find the area. And because there's 2 blues, I need to double it, which is 24. Good work. Okay, now let's look at the tans. Okay, so I have 2 by, what's the long side? 2 by 4. See, this is 4 because this is 4, so it's the same thing. 2 times 4, which is, now we're going to double it because there are 2 tans, and we get, great. Okay, now I used 4 and 3, and then I used 2 and 4. So now look what I'm left with. The 3 and the 2. So we're doing the greens now, so 2 times 3 doubled. So I used both of those again. Now I've used all my numbers twice. Now I take these 3 numbers, because these are all inches squared. I multiplied unit times unit, and I add them up. 4 plus 6 plus 2 is There is the surface area of that rectangular prism. Wow. Easy? Okay.
I didn't get the part where you went tan.
Well, okay. Let me go back. Because there are two tans, you don't know how I got those numbers. All right. Well, here's my short side, 2. My long side isn't labeled, but I know that from here to here is 4, so from here to here is 4. All right. So now I'm going to do some practice shapes with you. I'm going to give them random numbers. Are you ready, Alexis? My long side is going to be 7 meters. My tall side, 5 meters. And my width will be 2 meters. Okay? So I just made those up. I pretended I measured them. Now it's my job to find the surface area. I can't cut this shape apart because it's on a smartboard. It's on a piece of paper. I wish I could. If I could, then I'd see a picture that looks like this and it would be really slick. But I can't, so instead I'm going to use my strategy. I'm going to choose 2 numbers. It doesn't matter which 2 you start with. Darius, give me 2. 7 and 2. I'll put a half of an X through each one. 7 times 2 is?
14.
Double it.
28.
Pick 2 numbers. 2 and 5. Which is?
10, 20.
Double it. Aaron? 7 and 5. Okay, now you can tell I'm done with all my numbers. Double it.
77.
Meters squared, meters squared, meters squared. Add them all up.
118 meters squared.
There's the surface area. What? Kaylin's smiling. Easy? Okay. So, well, now I'm going to do a cube. Now, actually, a cube is easier. Because what do we know about a cube? They're all exactly the same. So, instead of having 3 numbers, they're all going to be exactly the same. So you could write them all out, or what's an easier way to do that? Darius says, or you can just do it one time and then multiply it by 3. I think that makes more sense. It would cut down on time, right? Okay, so let me try this. I'm going to go 8 inches, 8 inches, and 8 inches. Pick 2 numbers. Oh, you guys are so smart. Double it. Now, for those of you who can't do that in your head, then off to the side, write this. Now, could I do this 2 more times?
Yes.
Absolutely. I could write this exact thing out here and here. Or I could take 128 times 3, since it's a cube. 24. 384 inches squared. Now someone said, why isn't it inches cubed? Because there's 3 of them. Well, but we only multiplied 2 at a time. Yeah, that's why it's still squared. Now I'd like you to take your iPads out. And I know that some of you are able to draw a shape like this. I'm going to show you how to do this on smart software. Draw your rectangle right in the center, start it again, and draw another one that's about the same size. Then you can take your black marker. Now, the only thing that's different about mine and yours is that the part that overlaps is invisible. So you're going to have to draw this in. And then connect your corners. And now you have a rectangular prism. You have to start right in the middle, Kaden. You bet. Okay, watch this shape. Okay, now when you make your second shape, watch where I start, Kaden. I start right here. Right in the center. Okay? And then I drag it this way. Then I can make my connections. All right. Okay, so I would like you to label your rectangular prism. I want you to do 10 meters, 4 meters, and 3 meters. Now I'm going to give you some time to write out your information. Choose 2 numbers to get you started. Put half an X through. With me the first thing they did. Natasha. 3 and 10 is what she started with. Now, as long as you have this somewhere on your list, you're fine. Then what did you do? And then doubled it and got? Great. Somebody else. Aaron? 10 and 4 and got? And got? Good. Then, Cole?
I multiplied 4 times 3, and I got 12 and doubled it to 24.
And finally, Will?
I took 6 80 plus 24 and got 164 meters squared.
Correct. How many of you got this one right? Awesome. Great. Okay, let's move on. We can do another one. Let's do a cube. Are you ready? This one has sides of 6 inches. We doubled it and got? But I need a number here. 6 times 6 is 36, but you have to double it. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Emma? 72. Okay, now that you have 72, now, Aiden, what do you do? What did you do, Aiden?
I couldn't get the problem up because I kept screwing up. So I could keep rewriting.
Oh, we'll have to do more practice problems then. Kaden? Aiden, why don't you keep your eyes up here now? Now, she could have written that out 2 more times, but she decided to do it quicker, so is that right?
Yep.
216 inches squared. Now, we cannot, Darius, we cannot forget to double. Who can tell me, why do we double? Always imagine the side opposite it. So obviously there's 6 faces or 6 sides, but as long as we do one, we can double it just to find the side opposite it. Oh, someone in my first class took 6 times 6 and they got 12. What did they do? They did add.